Stop scrolling. This message was not made for everyone. It found you because something in you has already been tested, bent, and is ready to carry more. If you read this brew and it lands, you're being addressed as one of a few, one of 7, not as a talisman, but as a symbol. Completion under pressure, a threshold crossed. If that resonates, mark your presence. Like the rest who choose to begin, comment 99 and like this video. You have been under steady pressure your whole life. Not traumatic headlines or one-off losses, but a slow compression. Opportunities that closed just as you reached them. Relationships that demanded loyalty while offering little return. A repeated loop of starting and stalling. It felt personal. It felt unfair. Yet each small defeat left behind something you didn't notice at first. A thicker spine, a quieter observation, a capacity to endure in silence. Where others sought noise and distraction, you learned to carry weight without complaining. That weight is not punishment, it's preparation. Look back. There was a moment, a fracture, when the identity you relied on simply failed. Maybe a job you anchored your worth to evaporated. Maybe a relationship ended, and with it the story that made you safe. Maybe repeated compromises left you hollowed out. That collapse felt like falling through the floor of your life. But inside that fall was a yawning room, a blank architecture waiting for a new foundation. This rupture is not the enemy, it is the only doorway to true reconstruction. I speak to you as the curator of a private method, a formula reserved for students who can hold responsibility, discretion, and sustain discipline. The teacher named in the title is the private instructor who curated these practices. Abdullah, indefinite background. The techniques themselves are rooted in identity work, methods for shifting the self by changing the inner assumption, drawing on principles popularized in modern metaphysical practice and inspired by Neville Goddard's work on assumption and revision. This is not a hack, a promise of instant fortune, or a public seminar designed for applause. It's a structured path for remaking how you operate from the inside out, so the outer world follows with more coherence and fewer contradictions. Before I show you the blueprint, understand one urgent truth. Wealth, in this approach, is a symptom of internal structure, not the primary aim. The inner architecture must first be built to hold magnitude and responsibility. Pressure has been your forge. What you do with the metal determines whether you become a weapon, a tool, or a fragile ornament. The private wealth formula is about forging capacity, durability, integrity, and the capacity to steward influence and resources without breaking. Here is the identity shift blueprint, step by step.
These are practical practices, daily micro-rituals, and a discipline for how you handle attention, memory, and imagination. 1. Assume the end. This is the foundational practice. Each morning, for 10 minutes, imagine the end state you intend to inhabit. Not the process, not the how, the end. Feel it vividly. See your bank balance as a number you've already earned. Feel the relief of no longer worrying about bills. Hear conversations around you that treat you as the person you've become. Let the physical sensations register. Chest ease, steady breath, the subtle expansion behind the eyes. Do this sitting or lying down, eyes closed. Do this with the emotional reality of having already arrived. Concrete demo. Choose one specific outcome for a 7-day experiment. Pick a modest, measurable target, an additional $500 in your account, an appointment with a potential client, a short-term freelance gig. Each morning, close your eyes for 10 minutes and imagine a brief scene that implies the outcome is done. You receive a notification, you sign a contract, you celebrate quietly with a cup of coffee. Feel the contentment. Repeat. Let inner feeling lead outer action. Why this matters. The nervous system responds to sustained internal signals the way it does to repeated external events. Over time, the assumption organizes choices that match it. This is not magic. It's recalibration of preference and attention. 2. Revision practice. Each night before sleep, review the day and rewrite any moments that felt like defeat. This is not denial, it's a surgical reframing. Take the exact scene that wounded you, the missed call, the embarrassed conversation, and replay it as you would have preferred. Add dignity, insert your composed self, change the felt meaning. Do it slowly with sensory detail until the new ending feels plausible and feels true. Concrete demo. If someone dismissed an idea of yours today, imagine a quiet after where they return. Ask for your opinion and acknowledge your insight. Picture their face, the words offered, your calm reply. Feel how your posture in that scene differs. End the revision with a breath of gratitude, as if the new scene has already informed the memory. Keep this practice brief, 5 to 10 minutes, but precise. Why this matters. Memory is not fixed. The way you store past events determines what you expect next. Revision disarms the old pattern, converts defeats into rehearsal, and gradually reshapes what you tolerate in future moments. 3. Structural habits. Daily micro-disciplines that align outer action with inner assumption. Identity without habit is brittle. Pick 3 micro-habits that directly support your assumed identity, and practice them daily for 30 days. Keep them discreet, measurable, and shame-free. Examples: financial micro-action. Each day, open your finances for 5 minutes. Track inflows and outflows.
Make one small alignment move. Transfer $10 to a savings buffer, send an invoice follow-up, or set a 24-hour reminder to price a service. Presence micro-action. Each morning, spend 5 minutes writing a sentence that starts with, "Today I will act as if," and complete it with a behavior aligned to your assumed self. Capacity micro-action. Schedule 1 focused hour weekly to learn or practice a skill directly tied to the identity you're assuming. Easy, repeatable, incremental. Concrete demo. Suppose you assume the identity of someone who effortlessly attracts professional opportunities. Your 3 micro habits might be: 1. Send 1 value-bearing message to a potential connector each day. 2. Prepare a 60-second description of your offer and practice it into your phone. 3. Log 1 small win each evening. Small wins accumulate structural confidence. They are the scaffolding beneath identity. Why this matters? Habits codify identity in muscle memory. When your outer life consistently mirrors your inner assumption, the world will take cues and respond accordingly. 4. Energetic hygiene and social pruning. Your attention is the soil where identity grows. Your social world is the climate. Tend both. Begin by auditing relationships and habits that drain attention or normalize scarcity. This is not punishment, it is triage. Reduce exposure to people who rehearse your old self or who take energy without reciprocity. Replace low-capacity interactions with short, intentional practices that restore clarity. A 10-minute breathing reset, a brief walk without your phone, a single protective phrase you say to yourself before meetings. Concrete demo. Create an energy boundary ritual. Before entering social media or an email inbox, take 3 grounding breaths and ask, does this serve my assumed identity right now? If the answer is no, implement a 2-minute redirect. Write the next step you'll take toward your goal. Over time, these 2-minute redirects protect focus and prevent drift. Why this matters? Attention follows intention. When your inner environment is disciplined, outer circumstances no longer hijack you. 5. The secret guard. Private work reserved for inner students. The deeper practices are private, not secret for secrecy's sake, but private for integrity's sake. When the task is to rebuild identity, public opinion is noise. Reserve your most ambitious assumptions and revisions for personal practice. Share only when necessary and strategically. Treat your inner work as a laboratory. Protect it like a sacred project. Concrete demo. Keep a dedicated private journal, paper or encrypted digital file. Write 1 brief paragraph each night describing the new identity you practiced and 1 small external result that hints at change. Share the journal with no one. Over 14 days, patterns emerge. You'll notice subtle shifts before you show them outwardly. Why this matters? Privacy cultivates honesty. When you are not performing for others, you can practice failure, iteration, and refinement without the pressure to appear successful too soon. 6. Accountability without spectacle. You need accountability that doesn't become a performance. Choose 1 trusted person, not someone who will applaud everything, but someone who will prod you when you soften. This person should respect discretion. The role of accountability is to keep you honest, not to crowdsource your identity work. Concrete demo. Once every 7 days, send a single-line update to your accountability partner. Week X, assumed identity, practiced revisions nightly, total micro-actions completed, Y. No embellishment, no justification. Pure data. Why this matters? Small, consistent truth-telling is more potent than grand promises made in public. 7. Experimental calibration. Measure small, specific outcomes for a limited test period. Identity work is hypothesis testing. Design a 21-day experiment with 1 clear metric. Keep the metric tight and relevant to the identity. Number of client contacts, dollar amount in a backup fund, number of times you spoke as if you already had the role you desire. Keep action minimal but consistent. The inner work should be the primary variable. Concrete demo. Run a 21-day test where your metric is 5 value-first outreach messages per week. Track responses and notice changes not just in replies, but in your posture, willingness to show up, and inner expectation. The outer metric provides feedback. Adjust the inner practice accordingly. Why this matters? Small, measurable outcomes function as reality checks. They force you to iterate, not fantasize. Now a few clarifications about the role of selection and the number 7. When I use 7, treat it as a symbolic archetype, a number standing for wholeness through trials, a threshold of readiness, not a secret law that bestows powers.
The idea is to orient you to a smaller, disciplined cohort mentality, fewer peers, deeper rigor, and a willingness to stand apart. If you feel named by that symbol, recognize it as an indication of temperament, not guarantee. You will be tempted to seek public validation as evidence of progress. Resist that pull. The private wealth formula is developed on the premise that real change happens away from applause. It requires that you tolerate being misunderstood for a season. That tolerance is not stubbornness. It is fidelity to internal calibration. There will also be pressure moments that feel like failure, but are actually tests of your new structures. These pressure points are not exceptions. They are the norm for anyone expanding capacity. Notice how you respond. Do you revert to old stories? Or do you hold the new assumption and take one aligned micro-action anyway? The difference defines progress. Now, a short, concrete pathway you can begin today to move from theory to practice. Start now with a single morning ritual. For 10 minutes, assume the end.
Choose one clear, modest outer target for a 7-day test. Close your eyes. Create a 3-line scene where that target exists as fact. Feel the emotion briefly and clearly. After your imagination practice, list one small habit you will do today to align with that scene, a micro-action that takes less than 10 minutes. Tonight, revise one moment from today that felt small but dissonant. Rewrite it as you would have preferred. Keep the revision precise and sensory-rich. Make just one line in your journal about the experience and seal it. Across the next week, practice these steps daily. On day 7, look at what shifted, no matter how small. Adjust micro-habits, keep the revision practice, and extend your experiment to 21 days with a tightened metric. When you're ready to publicly mark this commitment, do so with discretion. Comment 99 as a symbolic seal, not to create spectacle, but to register your presence among a disciplined few. That number is not a spell, it is a communal nod. I have seen this, I will remember, I will practice. If you comment, keep the rest private. Let your inside work be the thing that moves the world, not your announcements about it. A word on influence. These practices draw on the methods taught by Neville, especially the emphasis on assumption and revision, but curated here for private students and adapted for the demands of modern stewardship and wealth responsibility, inspired by Neville Goddard's practice of assumption and revision. Where Neville emphasized feeling the reality of the wish fulfilled and revising memory, we add a framework for structural habits, energetic hygiene, and measured experiments, so your inner reorientation is matched with disciplined outer stewardship. Do not accept shortcuts. There are no guaranteed instant results. This method increases the probability that your life will reorganize to match a new identity, especially when you combine sustained inner work with consistent micro-habits. You will probably see small shifts first, different opportunities, slightly easier conversations, a reduction in frantic energy. Over time, as internal structure strengthens, those shifts compound. How long this takes depends on prior conditioning, the regularity of your practices, and your willingness to carry responsibility without immediate applause. A final calibration. Being chosen to carry greater capacity is weighty. Wealth, if it arrives, becomes an instrument. Integrity, endurance, and the ability to steward influence matter more than accumulation. This is not a course in accumulation for vanity. It is training to bear consequence with wisdom. If your aim is only outward reward, this path will feel onerous. If your aim is to increase your capacity to do meaningful work with freedom, you are in the right mind.
If you're serious about continuing beyond this blueprint, there is a private guide and a limited inner course curated for committed students, an invitation reserved for those who demonstrate sustained practice. The sign-up is discreet. The link is in the description. One door, one cohort. Discretion required. Entity. Rebuild with the precision of an architect and the patience of a smith. Assume the end. Revise the past. Build microstructures. Protect your attention. Keep your work private and your accountability honest. Measure small outcomes. Repeat. If this lands, mark your presence now. Comment 99 and like the video. Then begin. 10 minutes of assumption in the morning, 5 minutes of revision at night, and one micro habit to align your day. Start small, stay disciplined, and carry what you build with quiet responsibility. This is the Private Wealth Formula, reserved for inner students, a program of interior reconstruction, more likely to produce lasting results than the flashy promises you've seen. If you are ready to test it, the doorway is here. The rest is craftsmanship.